What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We are back again with another episode of Comic Relief. My name is Justin, aka KnowGoodComics, and welcome back to the channel. We're talking about, I think, what are we on? Episode 18, I think. Oh my gosh, we are flying by. And of course, it's not just me. I got my co-host here with me, MorbiusComics. Let me bring him in right now. Morbius, what's going on, brother?
What's good, brother? Just trying to get some little gaming in real quick before the interview. Sorry about that. My bad.
Love it.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I hope you're winning, man. Hope you're winning.
Always. Happy Tuesday, brother. Happy Tuesday.
Hell yeah, man. Back once again. And for those of you who don't know, if you didn't catch our last episode, we were actually over on Morbius's channel. We've been going back and forth now. So make sure you are subbed up to Morbius if you are not already. I put his information in the description below. Continuing to grow the YouTube channel, my friend. So
yes. Getting there.
Had some good talks last week with our friend Brandon, but this week we got another guest. You want to introduce our guest?
You know what, man? This brother, I know he's a good friend of yours, and now he's a good friend of mine. We've been building and talking, and it's just, guy's incredible. I feel like he's just right on page with us, man. I just want to bring him in right now. Y'all know him as I Got Issues, but give a shout out to my homeboy Chris.
Boom. What's up, Chris?
Thanks for having me. I feel like Morbius just oversold me, and that now everyone's gonna be disappointed.
Absolutely not. Don't say that. Right? Absolutely not.
Everyone's like
set the bar really low. Like, hell, if you set the bar too high, then I'm failing.
Everyone's like, oh, it's this guy.
They're like, oh, him.
He looks different. I'm doing a hobo cosplay now.
So if you guys don't know Chris, I feel like Chris, to me, you're an OG in terms of being part of the community, the comic book community. And for those who do not know, I Got Issues, Chris used to wear a panda helmet all the time. And so if you saw my story, I put a bunch of little pandas. That's for that. That's for anybody who knew Chris way back when.
Way back.
I was wondering about that. Wondering.
Yeah, you know what it was? When the YouTube thing was first starting to get big, when guys like John were just starting, when guys like Reggie were just starting, when even guys like Tom, Comic Tom, had like a couple thousand followers. And I wanted to kind of get on YouTube a little bit, but I wasn't sure about it. And I had this like $15 panda mask from like Walmart that my daughter made me get for like Halloween. And I put that on when I started doing videos because I wasn't sure if I wanted to put myself out there. And it just became like a gimmick for a long time until finally I was like, you know what, let me just take this off because it's too hot. I can't breathe. And, I'm not that jacked up looking.
Yeah. It's not as cool as it was anymore.
No.
It was.
I used to drink like beer through the eye hole. I used to put my mouth up against it and then put the beer through it.
I'm gonna have to go back and find some old footage because I know it's out there.
John could tell you where. I know John was in here a minute ago because I went to the bathroom live on his show while wearing the panda mask and flushed the toilet and everything. And these guys were like speechless. Like, what did this guy do?
Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Hey, man. That's how you do it, though. That's how you do it.
And that's why they call him I Got Issues, because he has a lot of comic books.
Brother.
And
he got issues, brother.
So I put Chris, I put your Instagram information in the description below. So if anybody's not following you over there, they certainly should. You're very active to this day and always posting some good stuff. So so today we are talking about digital versus physical comic books, or at least when it comes to reading. When it comes to reading, what do you prefer, digitally or physically reading comic books? So we're going to get into it, but before we do, want to say a quick hello to the chat. We have 11 people hanging out with us right now. So we'll start it off with Travis, aka TM Nerdy. What's going on, brother? Station, good to see you. We got Thomas Jackman in the house. TJ, good to see you as well. We got my man Wesley Comic Collection in the house. What's going on, Wes?
Salute, Station.
My man Unruly Simeon in the house as well. Good to see you, Unruly. We got Jason Claiming Comics, a fellow local guy here shopping over at Zap Comics as well. Good to see you, Jason.
What up, Jason?
And there he is, John's Comics with Kids. Let's trigger some. He always says, let's trigger some folks.
Let's do it.
Dude, I don't know if Michael's still in here now. This was a little bit ago, but it's his birthday. He said that he was about to sit down for his birthday dinner. So, Mike, if you're still in here, happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday, brother.
Soul Collector.
I don't know if you saw, but did you see the new display that he just set up?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Killed it.
If you guys are not following him on Instagram, you need to go check out.
Go check him out.
Play he just put together of all his statues and toys. Crazy.
Agreed. I need to get a setup like that, but for X-Men. Gotta get something going.
I already have it, but
yeah. I need one like that though. You know, I need it's got all focused on like one head. You know, it's really cool. Let's see. We got Chris Lopez in the house. Some weirdo.
What's going on?
I'll never forget the story of why your name has changed to Chris Lopez, but that'll be for another time. Uncanny Swag, what's going on, brother? We got my man Bricks as well. Bricks in the house. Good to see you. We got Jedi Knight hanging with us. He was just messaging us saying, "What do I do? There's no Omni X-Men tonight." I told him to swing by this channel and or this show and watch us here. So I know he likes today's topic. Fuzzy Dunlop also hanging out with us from across the sea. Yes, James Phelps in the house. And we got a good amount of people hanging out here. We got Wife of Bat in the house. I told her she has to come check out this show because I know she's just starting to explore the digital side of reading comic books. So, you know, maybe we can hear from her and chime in a little bit and shed some light on what we know.
Definitely.
But good to see you, Wife of Bat. Appreciate you swinging by. Oh, yeah, there he is. Mike's still in here. Chris is one of my favorite people on Instagram. There you go.
Thank you, brother.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday,
man.
Absolutely.
Enjoy.
We got our good friend Paul Morris, PJ Morris, hanging out with us as well.
Hey, Paul was good.
Chat just jumped on me. We got Candace in the house. What's going on, Candace? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. We also got Jason Bleecker Street. Hello, Jason. Another Jason.
Another Jason in the building.
And we have Steve. Hip Hop's and me, Team Nerd Herd represent. Good to see you, Steve. Those guys, they have their show at 10 o'clock tonight, so check them out if you're not already subbed up to them. Hello. All right, so let's get started here. And of course, hey.
Better not forget.
Before we go off the rails here, I remembered barely. Check that out, Chris.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, look at that beauty.
Ooh, nice. Cheers, guys.
Nice.
Cheers,
I got
everyone in the chat.
I got some makers tonight. What are you drinking, more?
You know me, man. Hennessy VSOP, man. That's it. That's my staple.
Nice. You guys caught me a little off guard, so I only had some Coors Light in the fridge. But
hey, it all works.
If there's alcohol in it, that'll work.
Yeah, American beer, not so much. But
yeah, I know, right?
We'll work on it.
Something in there. It's something.
Yeah, it's better than water.
Exactly.
Unreally. So here's his bum issues. Exactly.
Accurate, somewhat accurate.
Chris is rocking the Samurai Panda look. There you go.
Yep. Oh,
got the little ponytail going. What's going on, Voice Inject? Good to see you. What's up from Toronto? All right, so let's dive into this topic here. You know, we've touched a little bit on this before. I know I've talked about it on some pre-recorded videos in the past. But I'm going to send it to you first, Morbius. When it comes to reading comic books, what is your overall preference? Let's just start with that.
Overall preference has to be physical, based on just just my experience, and not having that outlet to digital, growing up, that it's just become like custom to me. Now it's just habit. I mean, you figure over 30 years reading comic books, like, it's a normal thing for me to grab a book, sit down, grab a drink, and just start reading, especially now that I have my reading glasses, which is very big.
Yeah,
because even right now, I cannot see anything. No, I can't even read your name, Justin. I can't read.
Oh, man.
No, I can't. Even all the comments, I cannot read them. So I'm glad that you're reading it, because I can't read them.
Dude, you should have told me that from the get-go, man. I would have made sure to always. Sometimes I leave them up like, all right, I'll let Morb read this one.
Nope. And I'm like quiet about it. He's wondering like, why is it Morb reading this shit? And I'm just like, because I can't, motherfucker.
Oh, jeez.
I need my damn glasses. But yeah, but just one thing is funny, because what happened was that I was getting frustrated, so I actually stopped reading physical and started reading digital in the last, I would say, maybe few months, maybe 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
You know, and it was getting frustrating because the only reason why I did it was because I wasn't able to read the captions through the physical book, but in the digital I could zoom in on it,
right,
and I could see it. But then that became a little annoying because I'm staring at captions.
right.
You know what I mean? I'm constantly like zooming.
You're missing
back,
like the artwork.
right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the panel, then I'm zooming back in, especially if they say something related to what just happened. I'm like, oh shit, what did oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yep.
So I'm constantly zooming in and out. So in that sense, the digital did help me out, you know, in the sense that I could rely on something other than the physical, because to be honest, if it wasn't for the digital, I would have not been reading, you know, books all this time until I went to the eye doctor and got my glasses now, you know. Right. And the worst part was when you had black background with red ink. I'm done. I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, even with digital, I'm struggling, like, what the hell, you know? But now that, you know, I got my glasses and, you know, I'm full on physical, you know, because, and I just say, it's just something that I would say, how you say, I was brought up with that, you know, and I did give the opportunity to digital when it was there. And I did pick it up. I did use it for what I needed it for. But now that I have my glasses, I don't think I'll be going back to digital. You know what I mean? I just love the pages. I love turning them. I love, you know, looking at the ads too. That brings me back a lot, those ads, because, you know, I bought some of that stuff as a kid. I've actually mailed stuff out, you know.
The nostalgia is strong.
Right. The nostalgia is very big with me, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's a part of me now. So going digital 100%, I don't see it happening for me. Is, you know,
but you're open to it, or obviously you've tried it.
Right,
so
I've tried it because I had.
You're not like,
it was like I have to give it a shot because I still want to read my books. Now, but at the end of the day, if I had to make a pick, of course it would be physical all day. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll read my physical copies, you know, and I'll stay away from digital, even though there are free links, you know, because that's why when I was reading my digital, I was doing it through free links, you know. Yeah, you had to deal with the little pop-ups and you
save money though.
Right, you save your money. You're not buying the books as you read them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was great for me, you know. But yeah. So me personally, man, I stay physical all day, you know. And I keep it raw, you know, like my books. Keep them raw, man. You know, so I could be able to read my books. Yep. You know, so that's important to me. But yeah. So Justin, Chris, what about you, brother?
I'll real quick before you jump in, Chris, I just want to let the people know, guys, feel free to write some really embarrassing things about Morbius in the chat, because I'll bring them up, and Morbius won't know at all. So just want to put that out there. Go ahead, Chris. What are your thoughts?
I'm not laughing, bro.
I think I do lean more in the same direction as Morbius in terms of appreciating physical, and I think part of that is a generational thing. Like, I'm here on the edge of 40, and so I want to read these physical things. I grew up reading physical books, physical comic books. I never really was able to get into the Kindle and digital magazines, digital books, and now digital comics. It's tough, man. There's something about, you take a book, right? You hold it in your hands, you flip through the pages, you stop, go back, you see a spread, you see a splat. Like, there's something about it that is special. When you're reading a physical book, you know. And I know a lot of people say too, with older books, you get that the texture is different on the paper, the smell is different. When you're reading an old book, your bronze, your silver, your gold, like, it's an experience in itself,
right,
to physically read certain books, you know. But because of COVID, because of not getting out to shops, because of not wanting to be able to or spend as much money on physical books, I did finally give in to the idea of reading digital, not just free, like you said, Morbius, but also through Marvel Unlimited, which gives you a really good opportunity. I went out to Best Buy, and instead of spending $100 that week on comic books, I spent $100 to buy a little tablet just to read comic books on. That's what I got it for. And so I get my Marvel Unlimited on here. I can go to the free links. And so how I offset now in trying to be on both sides of this world is that my pull list books that I always love to read, I still get physical and I still read physical. And I save my digital for hunting down back issues that I want to read. And I save my digital for books that I kind of want to read, but I don't want to spend my money on. You know what I'm saying? I don't want.
That
I'm tired
makes
of
sense.
going to the store and pulling $40, $50 of books off the wall and then hating every single one of them. And I just spent $50. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I stand. But
yeah, no, I think you both make a lot of valid points, and I think for me, and I think a lot of people, or at least if you've been following my channel at all, or if you follow me over on Instagram, you'll know that I'm a big digital guy when it comes to reading. It doesn't mean that I don't buy physical books. In fact, up until recently, have been buying anything that I buy physically, I buy digitally, you know, for the same price. I saw Jason here before saying, who can afford both? For a long time, I was doing both. Yeah, for a long time, I was doing both. And not up until recently that I started to slow down. But the main reason that I started to slow down on buying physical is because of space issues. And it's funny because we you know, right before we went live, we were kind of showing off our rooms and what kind of mess we have on the floor. You know, it's not just this nice wall that Morbius has up behind him, but, you know, he's got boxes on boxes. You know, and it does take work. It takes time to manage the collection. You know, and especially as you continue to grow it, and if you're one who doesn't sell, like Morbius, who keeps, you know, a majority of his books, it can just continue to add up. So I think that that's a big factor for me when it comes to digital is the fact that it's, you know, it's not taking all that extra room up, even though, like I said, I was buying a lot of the physical stuff as well. I've slowed down on that more recently. And then hopefully in the long run, you know, I am saving that space. But you know, I mean, I have several reasons as to why I am a digital guy when it comes to reading. And again, I always like to clarify that I'm a digital guy when it comes to reading. I'm still a firm believer in wanting to own the books physically. I'm a collector as well. So it goes two ways. I know people, there are some that are very anti-digital, for different reasons that might affect the industry and so on and so forth. But, you know, as you both have kind of stated too, there are some benefits to digital that I think not everybody highlights. And I think one thing I really appreciate from both of you, and Chris, I think you're a perfect candidate to come on board to talk about this with us, is that both of you are to some degree open to digital reading, that you're not necessarily poo-pooing it, and that you've given it a shot for one reason or another. And Morbius, you made a great point. Like, hey, like you couldn't, you know, if you couldn't see at some point, like you had to switch over, and digital was in a way convenient at that time that you didn't have glasses. And so it's kind of nice that was there for you, because otherwise, like I can't imagine not being able to, like you just you're held back otherwise.
Right. It's like you're held captive by your own books. You know
right.
What I mean?
You're surrounded.
You're surrounded.
You can't read them. Yeah.
Right. You can't even read them. So it was very frustrating. Another thing too, which made me come up, like I was thinking about digital today, because I actually, for those Albert, you know, Albert loves comics. Shout out to Albert. He's actually looks like he's on vacation. He was on the beach. I saw his picture and he had a comic book in his hand. And he was talking about a comic. And in my mind instantly went to, bro, why didn't you go digital? Like, why would you bring those physical books with you, risk damaging them? Which, of course, I've done it too. You know, I've taken books with me when I did the, you know, the top 8 challenge. You know, I took some big keys with me, you know, you know, so I was very careful. So I get it, you know, but if I was going on vacation for that sense, you know, I would go digital. I would want to sit on the beach and look at my stuff, you know, through my phone, you know, and read as many books as I want, go through as many books. I might not feel like reading the book that I brought with me that day. You know, it might just be like, I felt like reading it. Now I don't. And then I don't have no other option to read anything else. But then when you pull out your digital, you can at least go through anything and just be like, you know what?
That's a big selling factor for me. Yeah, being able to just like you have especially, you know, depending what you're signed up for. If you have like Comixology, or if you have, you know, the Marvel Unlimited app, like you literally have like thousands of comics that you could dive into, and not only just to dive into, but are well organized. You can separate by events, you can separate by writers, by, you know, by authors or artists or whatever you want, and just find things, you know, fairly quickly, as opposed to if I said right now, Morbius, like, you know, pull out this issue from this date, you know, whatever, like you would have to, like, you know, remember, okay, I put it here, I boxed it here, whatever. And if it's not there, then you're like, damn, where did I move it? You know, like there, you know, things like that do come up. I think a lot of this with this particular topic in general
I'm still looking for my second appearance of Juggernaut. I know I have it somewhere here, but I still can't find it. I found my first appearance, but I can't find my second appearance. I'm like, where the hell did I put that shit? I can't.
See that?
It's not in the X-Men box, so I'm like, it's got to be in one of
Where would you
files.
put it? Yeah, exactly.
Where did I put that fucking?
I think a lot of this too, for this particular topic, is it depends on who you are as a collector. It depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It depends if you if you're just well, one thing that you brought up was the nostalgia. So for me, I wasn't reading comics as a kid, so I don't have that nostalgic vibe per se.
Right.
I get it. I totally understand. And if you have that, that totally makes sense. But for me personally, I don't have that connection with comics, especially. I know we, talk about like the smell of the books and things like that. I understand it, but it just doesn't hit me in the same way that someone who has been collecting and reading for a longer time has hit. The other thing too is it depends on what you're trying to do with your books, because I think that if you're trying to sell them at some point, if one of your goals is to keep them in pristine shape, then you might not feel comfortable reading a physical book, depending on what it is. If you have a book that costs I don't know, if you have the first appearance of Spider-Man and you just want to casually go read it, I would highly recommend not reading the physical copy if you have it, thousands of dollars worth. It's just not, to me, again, and that's to me, it's not worth it, especially if you're hoping that it holds values and that you can one day, either sell it or if your family needs it, the money or whatever the case may be. It's just nicer to know, okay, it's in good condition, as opposed to why would you risk, damaging that? I would always go either digital or, we could talk about other things too, like trades. You could go about, still buying it physically.
The variant. That's what I do. Instead of reading the A cover, I would, to keep that pristine in mint condition as possible. Right. I would read the variant.
Or just buy a second copy if it's a new. If we're talking new books or whatever.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like that's what I did with Immortal Hulk. I did not read the A covers. I read either the variant or I read the the C cover or the D cover. I thought it was cool. I was like, you know what? I'll read this rather than the A cover. I want that to be pristine. I'm not selling it, but I do want them to be in the best condition. Because that's another misconception that a lot of people have, that just because I don't sell books, they don't think that I'm concerned with this condition. And it's like, hell yeah. Like I want the cleanest, crispiest, mintest book in my collection. So even when I crack a slab, I'll go and send it to get pressed and clean, but then I'll put it right in my box. Because I just want it to be in the best condition as possible. Right. So that's another topic. But yeah, man, it's, to me, I think it's, it could go either way. Like you were saying, Justin, it depends on the situation and it depends how you collect. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the two biggest points that I agree with is the biggest pro to digital is location and circumstance. If you're laying in bed at night and someone else is sleeping next to you, reading a physical copy of a book is probably not doable, but digital is. If you're sitting down to eat a spaghetti or a slice of pizza and you want to read a comic book, you're not going to break a physical copy out of his bag to put it down on the table. If you're on an airplane or a bus or the subway or the beach, you're not necessarily going to have physical copies with you or want to deal with that headache. So, locationally where you choose to read and when you choose to read probably is going to play a really large role in whether or not you enjoy digital or not. For me, that's been the biggest thing, being able to lay on the couch when my daughter is around and read digital. I could do, and I could read 10, 15, 20 books while she watches TV and jumps around. I can't do that with a physical book because she will jump into me and tear that thing to pieces.
Yep. I know. I have a 3.5-year-old.
Factor. But I think the other thing that opens up from this conversation, and not that we want to get too far out, I just want to bring it up, is that we're delving into the issue of what is your purpose in being involved in comic books, right? Because if you are just a reader and you don't see any purpose in collecting value, covers, long-term, then of course you probably are going to lean towards digital and trades. If you are somebody who is just like an investor collector, then you are going to lean towards maybe slabs and pristine books, and you don't care about reading them anyway. So digital versus physical doesn't matter. So that's like a big topic. A part of this topic, the subtopic is, how do you see yourself within this medium? Because if you don't see yourself as someone who even values reading the story, then of course digital means nothing to you because you don't care. You don't plan to own it in any form. You're just here to put your money in and invest it and hope that you come out the other side with more money in your pocket. And that's fine if that's how you want to do things.
Right.
But I think for most of us that collect because we love the comics and we want to read them, I think there is a logical progression towards digital. I just think the biggest con and obstacle that people are going to face is that monetarily it is not in its ideal form right now from the publishers. I don't think that they're pricing it correctly, and I think it's turning people away, and it's making the people who do read digital go towards those, you know, outlying free link sources. And what we're going to have is repetition of, like, I grew up in the Napster age. So, you know, that's basically where we're at. You know, people are going to stop buying your physical, and they're not going to buy your digital either because it's too expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point too, to kind of look at this in a way that's like music, or how the music industry has like adapted and changed and is now very digital. You know, going from CDs and something that we were very used to at one point to now, you know, MP3s, and now systems where you just straight up download. And that's kind of what I look at Comixology and Marvel Unlimited as, is like Spotify, right? Where it's like, you know, I'm paying a fair fee. I think, in my opinion, I think it's a fair monthly fee to have access to hundreds of thousands of books, at least, you know, under Marvel or under DC or whatever, you know, whatever the app may be. But, you know, so that aspect I think is fair. But I do hear you, Chris, on where it's like I buy new books where I have to actually go to Comixology and pay essentially full. I get like, I think it's like 20% or 15% off because I'm a member.
Their structure is just not right.
Yeah.
You know, because
I agree. Yeah.
Spotify, you pay $10 a month.
Yeah.
Right. And you get everything the day it comes out, and you have access to all of it. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Marvel Unlimited, you pay $10 a month, and you don't get things for what? It's 4 months.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 months before the new stuff.
Stuff catches up. And if you want it in the meantime, you have to go buy it for the same price as a physical copy.
Yeah, that's awful.
Physical copy costs $4.99. That's because half of that money goes to the comic store, and the other half is spread out between the publisher, the printer, the distributor, and that's how they make their money. If you cancel out the comic shop, if you cancel out the printer, if you cancel out distribution, why am I still paying $4.99 for a digital?
Right. I agreed. It should be. I wish it was $1. It should be. I feel like it's more like $1.
It should be.
The model needs to be fixed. Yeah. That's what you need to do. The model needs to be fixed. That's why iTunes had success, right? Because you didn't have to go to a store and physically pay $15 for a CD anymore. You could go to iTunes and pay $2 for the 2 songs that you wanted.
Right.
So Comics needs to copy that mold if they want to bring more people in digitally, to set up a pricing tree, a pricing structure that is fair and that is going to entice people to leave the physical medium and say, okay, I'm willing to give this a try because this pricing is appealing to me.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that they want us to leave the physical copies? Like, do you think that that's something that they want it to become, to get to that point where there will be no more physical copies and they just want us to just focus on digital sales and digital reads? You know, I don't think so. Like, to me, I don't think that will even ever happen. Me personally, I don't think that would ever happen.
No,
because the market is just way too big, you know, for that to happen. You know, and the demand for books is too big. You know, even if they get their shit together and they figure it out, you know, it's just gonna be another option. It's not gonna be the only option. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. Like, I that's one thing I feel like, no matter how far this goes with digital, you're never gonna stop having physical copies. You know what I mean? That's just not gonna happen. You know, it's almost like you look at like what happened with movie theaters. You know, people are like, yeah, that's cool. Now you can watch it in your home, but you really want to go to the movie theater and have that experience of being in the theater with people in the big IMAX, you know, eating the popcorn and being in that environment. Like, that's what people want. They can't wait to get back to that. You know, even though they have this option of the accessibility of just being at home and you stream it, and I'm here sitting down. It's just not the same. So I kind of equate that with that, like, where I'm just like, you know, digital, regardless how big it gets, it's always going to be a staple, or it's going to be a great option for people who want that, you know. But I always felt like physical is never going to die. You know, I think that's like I feel that's their golden ticket.
Yeah,
you know, it's physical copies. You know,
I don't see physical ever dying. I think it's always going to maintain great sales, especially because of the fact that so many readers are collecting for long term. So there's nothing collectible about digital. I mean, unless we start talking NFTs and stuff. But in terms of just reading comic books, there's no collectability to digital, variant covers, incentives, store exclusive. None of that exists in the digital world. So no, I don't think that you're ever going to leave physical. I just mean in terms of there's no company out there that doesn't want to expand their profits by introducing better options, you know? So like we all can use our Apple TV to watch Netflix or buy digital movies, but if you go to a store, you could still buy Blu-ray and 4K, right? We all go on Spotify or Apple Music to listen to music, but like I still collect vinyl, and they still make vinyl for new albums too, you know? So that's not the physical medium. To me is never going to die. I just think that there's a way that they could be a little. I think they don't have enough foresight is basically what I'm getting at here to make a long story short. There you go. MF
just pick this one up. This is a vinyl and it's a comic book. So I have to get this one.
That's dope.
Yeah, and you can tell by the art that's so cool, man.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. Just came in.
Very cool. What's that?
I said rest in peace.
I was to say RIP. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to touch on some of the chat here, a couple interesting things. So Louis just jumped in before. What's going on, Louis Logics? Says, just got here, might be out of my element, but if I got the Spider-Man 1, I'm reading it. And hey, that is all. I mean, look, that's all preference. But all I'm saying is I personally don't think it's worth it to risk, you know, knowing that Spider-Man 1 is as much money as it is. Let's say that you have a pristine copy of Spider-Man 1. Then like it would definitely make me feel very nervous, even knowing that someone else was reading it. I like what Voice Injection said here. He said, I low key get anxious reading physically. I worry about damaging the books literally 100% of the time. That's kind of how I feel too when it comes to, again, depending what it is. I mean, if it's a reader copy, then I feel a little better about it. But like, if it's my giant size X-Men 1 that I have, it's about a 7.0. I'm not opening it. It's just not, because I don't plan on bringing that to the grave with me. So I do feel eventually I'm gonna have to sell it. I would like to hold on until I am in a position where, you know, I'm already retired. It doesn't matter, and I'm okay with letting go of books when I'm old. But like, you know, otherwise it would make me very nervous. But again, I mean, everybody, you're more than welcome to read your Spider-Man 1 if you want to read your Spider-Man 1. Not saying you can't. Yeah.
You know, me personally, I wouldn't read it. I'm gonna be honest with you, being that it's a Spider-Man 1, but I would graze through it. Me being me, I would have to sit it down, you know, of course, because that's another thing. Before I read my books, I always wash my hands. You know what I mean? That's always something that my older brother got me into, you know, because, you know, the grease in your fingertips, you just don't know what you might forget. Yo, shit.
I was going to say the pandemic got me into that habit too.
So you want, yeah.
We're all a bunch of dirty dudes before the pandemic.
Exactly. You know, you scratching your balls and shit, you forget. Water? What is this stuff?
For 30 seconds?
What? You know, what? Like, I can't even count for 30 seconds. But, you know, it like, I would wash my hands and I would sit it on the table and I would, you know, I don't put it on my lap. I don't do that. You know, I would, if I do sit in the living room, you know, I have my dinner table, you know, that you pull out and I read on that.
It's very careful. Yeah, you do it in a careful way. You're not bringing it to the beach with you, that's for sure.
No.
You're not going to eat a hot dog with ketchup and mustard on it over it.
Cheeseburger. Well, I mean, that's not happening. You know what I mean? But there are ways, you know, to just take care of your books, to make sure you go about it the right way. You know, you follow the rules. You know, you don't want to get silly with it. You know, and like you said, there are books sometimes where you might have multiple copies of, and one of them might be the reader. You know, or one that you could make it a reader because it's such in bad condition that you're not going to get.
It's
nobody's going to buy it.
You feel right. You're not planning on like making money off it,
trying
or whatever.
to flip it, and
right.
And get it back up to where it used to be. Forget that. You know, so I definitely agree.
I wanted to acknowledge here that Chet has admitted that he's very old. That's what I got from this particular
we
comment.
All know that, Chet.
Chet, you're already we're well aware.
That. You're like an ancient But you're like a celestial in this comic community.
I'm not even gonna read the rest of his comment. But we got Nigel in the house. Desired Comics. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Big Nige?
Catching up on some of the chat here. Wife of Bat says, definitely location for me. Starting to read digitally by the pool to protect the books. Yeah, that's
sure.
If that's part of your lifestyle, you want to take it outside, sit by the pool, go by, like you mentioned before, more of the beach, things like that. Then digital is a perfect way to go about it. Also, because you don't want to let your books out in the sun. I mean, it depends where you are, but like obviously that can damage it.
Taking your tablet by the pool could be just as hazardous as taking
I mean technically, but it's way more replaceable than a comic book.
Exactly.
I mean. Well, depending what the comic book is.
Right?
Yeah. But let's see. We had Blackground in the house. What's going on? I saw just scrolling through here, wanted to light up a couple things. He said, man, I'll be honest, I prefer physical, but lately I've been reading them all digitally only because I can read them as I go without ruining my physical books. Yeah, that's exactly kind of, what we're pointing out here as a big plus. And, and I think, we're none of us, the three of us, sitting up here today, we're not saying to choose just one and stick and live by it, but that you can live in a world where you kind of blend them together, obviously based on what you're going through. Like if I'm on a plane going off to Vegas or something, which I will be in October, then I will want to have my iPad with me. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out was one thing that bothers me is when people are against digital reading, yet they've never actually done it. I've heard from people who said, I never did digital reading. I don't want to, or I don't, or they say they don't like it, even though they never tried it or whatever, or they've tried it, but they've only done it on an iPhone or like a cell phone of some sort where it's tiny. And to me, I feel like you're just not truly getting, you're not giving yourself the option to have the best experience possible. Whereas Chris, as you mentioned, you went out and bought a tablet because I know at one point
you're talking about me because we've had that conversation in the past where I said, dude, I can't do this on my iPhone SE. I can't sit and read digital like that. And I didn't have the means to read it another way. And wanting to introduce myself to that way of reading is the reason why I waited for a sale. And I said, you know what, what's a good screen size? And I found one for cheap that was the size, about the same size as like a comic book page. And I went and I did it, And Jason, that's a great point because that's what I was. Jason says the price on digital issues should be $1 or $2. And you should actually get the PDF file and not borrow it. And
that's a good point too.
That is kind of what I was getting at before when I was saying that their pricing structure needs to be better. And the reason why is because I want to be able to do both, and I would if the pricing was relative, right? So Justin, you love Nightwing right now, and you go out and you spend $4 on every issue of Nightwing, right? I guarantee if you could pay $1 to get a digital version, I know some comics come with a free one, but I'm just making a point. If you could pay $1 to get a digital version, you would probably do it for every single issue. You wouldn't even think about it because in your mind, you're like, $1, no big deal. You do it for 4, 5, 6 books. Okay, that's the price of one extra book I spent to get digital copies.
Yeah.
So I think that makes perfect sense because you also have it. We're collectors and we're hoarders mentally, right? So when you read it on a free link, it's over. You have to go search for it again. You need Wi-Fi service to read it. You may not be able to find it if they clear out their servers, their backlogs. They don't have every single comic uploaded. Even Marvel Unlimited doesn't have every single comic uploaded. You still have to go pay for it, especially the most popular stuff. So I agree with Jason. I think that if the pricing structure just made more sense, there would be more people doing both.
Yeah.
Me personally, I can't see myself purchasing digital books. I have to get the physical. That's why I'm the bootlegger free site. You know what I mean? I'm not paying for no digital books. That's just me. You know what I mean? I can't see myself spending the money on something that I cannot physically own. You know what I mean? And to me, that's what, to me, not to anyone else, to me, that is what my collection is about, is my physical books. That I could go reach in a box and I could pull that book out and be like, look, this is it right here. Instead of, per se, to a digital where you're like, oh yeah, I own all these books. And it's like,
it just doesn't feel the same.
Right. To me, it doesn't feel, it's like I own these files.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I don't own
And you don't even
books.
technically own them either.
I don't own the books. The files.
The files.
And the pictures. And,
understandable.
But to me, it's like I have to have that physical book, man. It's like that's why I'm a bootlegger when it comes to digital, because I will not pay $1 for a digital book. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, that's $1 out of the, you know, the book that I could add to get physically. You know what I mean? It's like that takes away from my physical book, that $1.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like no way. Like, you know. So that's just me, you know what I mean? I have to have my physical copy, man. I can't spend no money digitally at all. It never even crossed my mind, like, to purchase digital. It was like, oh, no, wait, no. It's like, if I'm going to purchase something digitally, it's online at a comic shop, and I'm buying the book physically and they give it to me. That's purchasing digital for me.
No, I get it, man. I totally understand. And the idea of like, yeah, you want, like, it does feel good for me to even have a wall behind me to be able to say, like, I own these books. Like, if I just put up like a printed image, it just wouldn't be the same thing, you know? So I understand. No, I totally understand. You know, and I prefer to own it. A couple people in the chat here. Chat was making a threat earlier, so I just want to highlight that in case something happens to me. You guys know what happened to me.
You're so intimidating with a cane. Go ahead.
What's going with the cane? Chat, I didn't say that one. I didn't say that one. Dave Collects is in the house. What's going on, Dave? Good to see you. We also got Comic Burrito hanging out with us. Good to see you as well. And we got Chef, the chef in the house, RD Harris. Hello. Appreciate you guys. I'm scrolling through kind of some of the ones that we had missed from a little earlier. Emerald Knight in the house too. He says, read the facsimile. Absolutely. That's a great way to go about it. Louis says, I have a sterile reading room now. Locked door, climate control. Hey, you got the works. That works, man. Take care of your stuff like that. That's always good. Down a little further, there was a couple things here too. I think John said, if your hearts can handle it, here's a link to show you the Knights of the Old flipped through that. Oh yeah, I saw that. Knights of the Old, they flipped through an AF-15. Yeah, I saw that that video.
Watching that while it was going on.
It was very stressful.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Let's see. I see Voice Injection says, I love going to the park on a nice day or evening and break out the tablet just to catch up on some comics. I would never be able to do that with a floppy. That's true. Very true. Again, going back to kind of, you know, where do you the convenience of reading certain books? Yeah, you can't necessarily do it with physical like that. Comic Burrito says Fire HD 10 when on sale is perfect. It's not great, but only for only reading comics is great. Yeah, I remember Burrito talking about potentially getting an iPad at some point. Brother, I hope you still are able to at some point get it. Ryan here, Comic Stash, what's going on? Says if I'm shopping with the wife and she's trying on clothes, I'm sitting there reading digital comics. It's a lifesaver. That's true too. If you're if you're in the mall or something, and or even if you're waiting at a doctor's appointment or something like that, or before pandemic and everything like that, that's another convenient time where you can kind of just read some digital stuff. Wife of Bat 2 saying just to throw us out there, digital comics, they're great for kids. I stopped buying for my boys physical copies and they don't mind it. That's a good point too. And I get both sides. I get the idea of handing them a book and stuff like that, but it is nice, especially if you, and I think you notice, you guys mentioned that if your kids will tear up your books at least at a young age, maybe digital is positive in that way.
Definitely. Like me, because like with my daughter, I'm trying to get her, into comics, of course. Like every dad who got kids, or every mom or dad who collects comics want to get their kids into it. To share in the joy of of going broke, and so it's like, but to me, it's like that's cool. Digital is good, in the sense where that helps them take care of their books, but I still want them to appreciate books. Like to me, because I grew up with the books, so I want them to really come up with books and having their own boxes and doing their own, and getting their, dividers and setting their stuff up and going through it and
the whole experience,
the whole motion of digging with them. You know what I mean? Digging, that's awesome. But definitely digital, I would say, just for them to protect their books and take care of their books, being that they're young and you don't want them to manhandle them like we did when we were young. So it's like, yeah, definitely digital would work in that sense. Like if you're going to bed and you want to read something, pull out your tablet and read it. You're not pulling a book out the box. You know what I mean? Leave it in the box.
Or even if you're like out
and sleep on it, you know what I mean?
Or even if you're at like a restaurant or something, you and your wife are eating and maybe your child is just kind of sitting there bored or whatever and wants to read a comic, then you can give them your cell phone or your tablet or whatever.
That'll work too, man. Definitely.
My daughter has a short box. She has one whole short box that's hers. She just turned 6. I've been buying her comics for a few years. And it's part of the process. You know, the stuff that I buy her mostly is not stuff that I'm worried about getting hurt. It's about learning the process. I buy her the dollar books.
Right.
You know what I mean? The dollar reprints, like those ones. I buy her those and she loves them and she gets a chance to read them. Or I buy her stuff from the 50-cent bins and she loves them and she gets to read them. But it's learning, okay, no, this is how you protect it.
Right.
Read it. This is how you put it back into the bag. I keep her away from the tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at 6, she probably knows better how to treat comic books than a lot of 20-year-olds do. You know? So it's part of the process. But I agree, if it was just for reading purposes for kids, I think, you know, digital for sure is better. I want to say something real quick since Chet is talking too. The one thing I will agree with him with, you're a heavy slab collector, or let's say, for example, you're friends with someone who's a big slab guy and they're generous enough to send you a slab like this.
Boom.
And you say, wow, this is beautiful, Chet. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a big shout out to Chet.
But I want to read this. I want to see Psylocke. I want to open this up, but you can't because it's, you know, it's protected.
You could still open it. You could still.
No,
open
I mean I wouldn't. I would. You could still open it.
Morbius.
I would never. Out there right now, I would never. Chet, why don't you send
Morbius,
me one, man?
Morbius, put the hammer down. Put the hammer down. Chris is not in the room with you.
I'm always ready, brother. Always ready.
Oh, is there blood on that? Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Look, I even have some spoils of war here.
Nice, yeah, some battle wounds from the book. What's going on, Dan De La Torre in the house? Good to see you, brother.
What's good?
Black Crown says, I'm with issues on this one. I'm doing the same for My Little Man. Get them cheap and let them experience the physical copies, build their own collection. Then they'll learn to appreciate.
Listen, man, I got a 3.5-year-old. I'm not buying her no trade, no back issue X-Men's or she getting like you said, from the dollar bin, from the fit. She getting Scooby-Doo, she getting Powerpuff Girls, you know what I mean? She getting all of those, what is it, PJ Masks and all those little cartoons that she likes. I just buy them, in comic form so she could get into the habit of reading and then storing her books, because that's big for me. When she's done with her book, I'm like, okay, let's go to the room. Now where you put it, you got your little box, put it in your box. And she puts it in her box and then she walks out and then comes back and grabs it again. And then I got to put it back in the box, so it's a training process, but I feel that that's definitely what Chris was saying. It's, you want to start them with the books, but then at the end of the day, you want them to finish off with the digital, it's like I said, cause this happened to me, man. I've gone as a kid. I take my books with me and I end up sleeping on them. I wake up the next morning and I'm like all over my fucking comic book.
You got drool on it and stuff.
Right, exactly. I'm like, fuck, and then my brother punches me in my neck because that was his book. That was like his favorite line, I punch you in the neck, son. I used to be like, why my neck though? Like, why my neck? Like, why not my chest? Like,
the neck hurts for days. That's why.
Dude, you ever got punched in your neck? That's no fun. It messes up your whole equilibrium, son. Like your nerves, like you got like a twitch, like you get like a twitch in your shoulder, bro.
I always wonder where that twitch came from, Morbius.
That you know where it comes from, son. That's my older brother beating my ass up because I messed up his X-Men. He was mad at me, I messed up one of his X-Men, man. I want
to highlight this real quick. Thomas Jackman saying, I can't imagine reading on a digital copy and it giving me the same feeling of holding my book in hand and reading it. So here's the thing. And again, I'm opening up both sides, but
I agree.
I think that the way that Thomas has said this makes me believe that he hasn't done it yet.
Oh, all right. Now, Thomas, have you read digital? Have you?
Right, because like, right? For a long time I used to hate tacos, and people would be like, "Why you hate tacos? What don't you like about them?" I'm like, I don't know. I haven't really had them before, and they're like, well, how can you say that?
Right.
And then I finally did have them, and then people would still talk to me. I say, no, I can't stand tacos. They're like, what? Why can't you stand tacos? Where'd you get a taco from? I go, well, I only had a tacos twice ever in my life, and they were at Taco Bell. And they're like, dude, you can't count Taco Bell as real tacos.
Yeah, that doesn't count, man.
Right, exactly.
Nah,
So for the point I'm trying to make, though, is like the same thing as I was saying before, is either people say they've never done it and they just refuse to do it, or they've done it, but they did it on a cell phone that was tiny and they get this bad experience and they just think, all right, well, there's no way I can ever feel. I'll tell you right now, I have read digital book. If you read a book, a physical book, if you've ever read a physical book and it's brought you to tears from emotion, then if the book is that damn good, it should be able to do it, whether it's physical or digital. It should not matter what way you're reading it. So if you read a book years ago and it made you tear up, then you should, in theory, be able to still read that book because it's the same story.
You know what it
should
is?
Be able to bring you tears.
You know what it is? I think that he's getting at, because he said in the chat that he has read digital and he just didn't like it. And like you said, who knows? Phone, tablet, computer, whatever.
Sure.
But what I get from this ties back into something Morbius said earlier. What he said was, I don't get the same feeling, right? So you're attaching more to the book than just reading the story.
Right.
And what that means is the feeling I get from reading physical is not the same as holding a tablet in my hands. And that goes back to what Morbius said, that I could sit on my couch in the comfort of my home and watch Black Widow, but it's going to feel better to go sit down in a huge movie theater with my soda and my popcorn and watch the same movie. So to me, I think, I could be wrong, Thomas, tell me, but I think that's really what we're talking about here, is that feeling of that experience. Is just, it means something different to people to do it physically.
That's fair. That's understandable.
And it is, and I totally get that, because it's like what we were saying before. It's when you're reading these books, there's so much more to just the story. Especially if you're, someone who grew up reading books, it's very hard to pull away from that. Very hard, because you're not only dealing with the book, but you're dealing with the memories that come with reading the book and everything else that ties into it. Like what Chris was saying, the smell of it, you're looking at the ads, all these things bring you back, and it makes you feel giddy. It makes you feel like you're youth again, like you're back as a child reading these books again. Right.
Assuming you grew up with them.
Assuming you grew up with them is what I'm saying. You grew up with these books. It's just gonna take you back there, And for somebody like me, and let's say Thomas, and even Chris, you want to read your physical book because of those things. They mean so much to you, and you get so much more out of it, But as far as based on the story, because I've read Immortal Hulk, digitally. And I got just as into it when I read the 2 or 3 issues digitally that I did when I read it physically. I got the same out of the story, the same, anticipation, the same excitement of what's going to happen next, But at the same time, I kind of felt like I was gypping myself, because I didn't have the book. And I
for that extra.
Right. I didn't have that extra flipping through the pages, pausing, looking at some ads, laughing. Oh, yeah, I remember this, and going through it. And once again, back to that nostalgic, feeling, so that's where it was like, I do miss that, so I could see where Tom is coming from in that aspect, but it all falls back to your situation, because think about it. Do you really want to read, your book, let's say at a pool, or, like you said, while you're out at dinner and there's a break between stuff and you like, oh shit, let me just go through this real quick. You're not going to pull out a book like we used to back in our days. We used to fold them and put it in your back pocket.
Back pocket, right.
You know what I mean? And
no one's doing that nowadays.
That was different though, because they already had subscription creases. So you didn't feel bad.
You didn't feel bad.
Holding it back up and putting it under your arm, because it already
so I totally get it, man. I totally get it. But like as Thomas said, I could fully see where he's coming from. I really do, because I'm part of that crowd.
The analogy of going to the theater, like you mentioned, I think that really makes a lot of sense to me, because that's how I feel with movies. Is I prefer to go to a theater, so I do get that aspect of it's just that extra bit. It's hard to like describe it per se.
It's different for everybody. Some people don't have that attachment, and that's okay.
Which
You just said it
doesn't make you less of a fan. It doesn't make you less of an enthusiast. It's just there's room for personal preference.
Exactly.
You and I just talked the other day about, I posted about it, and I keep bothering you about it because I really want you to read it. But the Silver Surfer PHABLE story by Stan Lee and Morbius is my favorite Silver Surfer story that I have ever read, right? I won't read it digital. because it's different for me. It's a different experience. I always read it physical. I read it once a month. And ever since I got this 2 years ago, I read it like this, physical.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could do digital that's going to touch opening up a book like this and sitting down and reading it and appreciate what you're reading. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just not, there's not a comparable feeling for me to reading digital. But like I said, I do appreciate and read digital, but for me, there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And again, I think a lot of it depends too. Like you guys said, like if you have that tangible connection to the books, like like I said before, I didn't read comics growing up. So to me, whatever I experienced 3 years ago is what I have. So a part of it was I was reading digital right off the bat because it allowed me to explore without having to commit to buying a giant size X-Men one or something, you know, like I could just read it and not have to worry about, well, how am I going to buy this thing or whatever, you know? And then even just to explore it and see what kind of genres I wanted. That's what I liked about Comixology. They give you, you know, a little bit of everything in terms of the indie stuff. You can, you know, dive into the first trade of a bunch of different issues. So, but yeah, the big picture, I totally understand.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I did go and read digital at that time, it was only new books. That's the thing. That's funny because when it comes to you know back issues, I gotta read them physically. You know, that goes back to just the nostalgic of it, of just I have to.
What you grew up with,
where I grew up with. I cannot read.
But the new books, how do you feel about the new books?
See, now the new books, they're good because what I like about the new books is that they're giving you totally different universes. They're opening up totally different avenues, you know, and new ideas and new perspectives and totally new characters and how they go about them and how they play these characters. You know, especially with a lot of the horror stuff, which was different compared to back then because you had that classic vampire, you know, mummy, you know, Frankenstein and the crazy, you know, like me, I was a big Tomb of Dracula guy, you know, so I love my Tomb of Dracula, you know, but nowadays when you're looking at the more horror stuff, like the new stuff, you know, it's totally different. It's very like, how can I say, it's like an upgrade, you know what I mean? They upgraded the way they present the horror, the way they go about it. It's not so like gore, you know, as it was back then. Like it had the fangs with the blood and it was just so like typical, atypical, you know, horror. Now it's like, look at Stray Dogs, you know, that book is like, you look at it and you're like, oh, what the fuck is this about fucking puppies? Like, you know, and it like, I almost didn't pick it up. And that's why I'm glad to Justin that Justin was like, yo, you should pick it up. And I was lucky enough to pick it up when it came out. And it's like, I'm glad I did, you know, not only because yes, it's all right, whatever, went up in value, who cares? But it's just a great read, you know, it's a totally different take on what I thought the book was going to be about. I totally did not think, and I even told Crash, and Crash is not onto new books like that. And I was telling Crash, Crash is the homie. Shout out to Crash. I was letting Crash know, and Crash was like, "Your word." I saw the book, and I thought it was like some silly Disney,
like a Disney cartoon
type thing, you know. And I was like, "Bro, read it, man. It's actually really fucking good."
Did he check it out?
Yeah, he did. He started picking it up now. Nice. He started picking it up. So this last issue, he definitely got, you know, he picked up. He showed it to me. Cool. But yeah, man, I think overall, like the change of how these new books came out, I like it. You know, it's more in depth. It's not as simplistic as they were back then. You know, as we always joke about, you know, that Carnival, you know, I mean not Carnival, Arcade, you know, that classic Arcade, you know, X-Men issue where they're rolling around in big ass, you know, pinballs and you know, it's like silly, cartoonish, comical things. But back then it was like, yo, this was the shit. Like this was awesome. But now if you try to look back at it or present it to somebody now, they're like, really? Like, is that like really like that really not that, you know, crazy? You know, especially Colossus in that jump, you know, in that farmer outfit, you know what I mean? You know, it's like, really, you know, but to back then that's all you had. So it was like, this is the shit. But now where you have so much creative, you know, outlets and like an influx of creativity now, it's great, man. The new books are cool. And to be honest, it took me a while because of the paper. Chris, check this out. I could not pick up a new book to just a few years ago, man. It took me so long to get over that fucking digital printing paper. Like I was just like that glossy. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? I was like, I need my fucking copy paper. Like,
Yeah,
I smell it. It don't smell like nothing.
Your newspaper.
Yeah, right. I need that newspaper, but I'm like, this shit don't smell like nothing.
It's not
like,
the
what
same.
is this shit? Like, and it took me so long to collect, man. Like, trust me, I didn't jump on to like, I think it was like 2015, 2016 that I actually started picking up new books. And I was like, you know what? Let me pick this up. You know, let me give it a shot. You know, but before that, it was like, nope, I'm not collecting no more. I'm done. I'm just sticking to back issues. I'm not picking up nothing new because these glossy digital papers I cannot deal with. You know, it's too bright. Like that in my mind, I was thinking like, this is just too clean. It looks too clean. I can't.
You gotta throw it in the dirt for a little bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Keep it around a little bit, and then I'll read it. You know,
You got you photocopy it and then read the photocopy.
Right, read the photocopy. Lower the image, the color on it a little bit, then print it. You know, but yeah, you know,
Swagglehouse makes a good point here too, and I talked to Victoria, Read Across the Stars, about this. He says here, I have so many digital hobbies like TV, video games, etc. Nice to take a break from a screen. And I know for someone like Victoria, she too says that after a while it can bother her to be staring at a screen all the time, which totally understandable. So that is on the flip side, another positive for you know, reading physical books is it's easier on the eyes in that sense.
It is, man. It is.
So good point there, Swaggle.
I would know.
Yeah. I wanted to also bring up the another thing that in terms of experience is that, and I haven't mentioned this throughout this whole thing, but for anyone who's read digital, you know that there is this feature called the panel to panel feature when it comes to reading. And I think that if you haven't experienced it, especially on like an iPad, something bigger, I highly recommend giving that a try. To me, that's been a game changer to where I actively, that's the number one reason I actively say I prefer to read digitally instead of physically, is because of that feature. The panel to panel feature is when you swipe, it literally just zooms in on the one particular panel. And one of the things I like most about that is, for me, and again, it's my own world that I'm in, for whatever reason, my eyes, if I'm reading a physical book, I cannot help but glance over at the next page before I've gotten to it. It gets me every time, and I ruin the story for myself. If Spider-Man shows up in a Daredevil book, like, and I see Spider-Man before I even get to that portion of the book, it kind of ruins that experience. Not that it like is the end of the world, but if I have no idea, and then out of nowhere the next panel hits me, and I see Spider-Man come visit Daredevil, then I'm like, oh man, or like Punisher or whatever. Like, it's just such a nice surprise for me. And again, that might be a personal problem, because I'm sure not everybody does that, where they glance over onto the next page. But me personally, for whatever reason, I cannot focus or, you know, stay concentrated on the one page.
I do it. I even go through a few pages.
But, yeah, right.
I just scroll through, and then I come back again. I'll be like, oh, okay, that's good. Okay, cool. Let me keep reading. Then it's getting good.
Yeah, right. But like, I've had the experience where it's like a cinematic feel, where I literally swipe, and like, I was reading Gideon Falls a while back, I read it digitally, and there's some scary scenes in that where it legitimately made me like, whoa, when it like a pop-up, like you would in a horror film. Like if you were watching a horror film, like it was like, you know, turn the corner or turn the lights on and there's like a monster. Like, it actually got me, and I'm like, oh man, that's like, I can't I don't, at least from my experiences of reading physical, I haven't been able to get that same experience. So if anyone hasn't tried the panel to panel feature, I do recommend giving it a shot. I think it's really cool. And again, just adds this type of cinematic vibe that you don't get from reading physical. Now, again, that might be me speaking in terms of, because I'm a newer reader, I don't have that connection to the, you know, looking at the pages the way that you might be used to with a physical book. But I do appreciate it, and I do really enjoy it.
That's my least favorite feature, by the way.
Oh, interesting. Fair. That's fair. And
I was waiting for something like this. Come on.
I know I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. The only time that I have ever appreciated that feature is just that there are some writers out there, or, you know, the way that the letterer and stuff puts the bubbles together. There are some guys notoriously where it is hard to follow where you're supposed to go next, right. Especially when they do the breakdown onto 2 pages at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So I've used panel to panel in those situations to know where I'm supposed to be following the dialogue. But as far as being surprised and stuff, I don't know, man. I've never had that issue. I also think most editors are pretty good at having surprises and splash pages being like each flip. So they're not on you know, you go to this page, they're not on the next page you see. It's going to be the flip is going to be like, oh, boom, Spider-Man. Like most editors are good at doing that kind of page layout. So for me, that's not generally a problem. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, like I said, I have a wandering eye, and again, that's a personal problem. So, but no, I get what you're saying. They do have usually they do try to line it up where the splash page is on the right, but there are still some small factors that even play into it that I do think, again, for me, kind of give me that better experience.
Me, I'm a spoiler guy. I spoil it for myself. Like I said, I'll go turn like 2-3 pages ahead. I'll just be like, fuck this. Let me see. Oh, this was happening.
This is coming up.
Hold on.
If you're into that, then that works.
I'm gonna make believe I didn't see that.
Right.
Oh, like
how do I unsee
that's
that?
Just me. I like to spoil it for myself all the time, man. I can't help it.
That's fair. That's fair. Hey, here's another point too I wanted to make, and I know we're just reaching time here, but another thing that I like is, and this comes to when it comes to reading new books, particularly, is that one of the big things that I like, and especially as a content creator, someone who is trying to keep up on new books and being able to talk about them that same day, I am able to buy those books digitally the morning they come out. Whereas anyone else that needs to read them has to go to the store, you know, and obviously you got to wait till the store is open. I mean, I start reading my books on Tuesday, my DC stuff, Tuesday morning, like 7 o'clock, like starting to read right before work, like be able to get a couple books in so that people, because I mean, again, for when I'm by Thursday, I have to break down all these books.
It's
and I'm
great to not have kids.
Just break. Oh, hell yeah, man. Absolutely. 100%. Oh, you want to go? That's a different topic, but absolutely.
I said at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. Hell yeah. So, but that's one thing though, like being just to even start the process, even if I start reading by the end of the day or middle of the day, or at work during lunch or whatever, like I don't have to wait and say, damn, I still have to drive to the comic book store, buy the books, and then read them. Like, again, and this, I'm speaking from a perspective of someone who creates content on a consistent basis. Like, I need the information, like in order to kind of stay ahead and be able to actually talk to the books. You know, I need the time, so I need to start early, and the only way to start early is by buying them right in the morning when they come out. So
it would be annoying though. If you're like a content creator and you have to go and get the physical copy before you could actually do the review, it's harder, right? It's hard.
You gotta wait. I mean, you know, otherwise you come out a couple of days or whatever. It's not the end of the world, but just like if you want to be on top of it, or if you, I have people that like reach out to me, say like, oh, you read this? Like, what did you think? Because they might be like, well, I'm still thinking about buying it. I was going to go to my LCS this afternoon. I haven't gone yet. Did you like it? And I'm able to actually give them an answer and say, I loved it, or you know what, this was not for me, or whatever the case may be. But it's kind of cool to go to me, like how you guys know I like to recommend things to people. That allows me to kind of set myself up for that. So I just want to throw that out there, because that is another you know, positive you know, that you can get your books right away.
No, that makes sense, man. It makes I didn't even realize that until you mentioned that. That is true.
And I have no kids, so you know.
Exactly. You can read at 7 o'clock in the fucking morning. This guy. He's just pissing me off right now.
You guys, I was gonna say you guys can't do that.
No.
Chris is like, what's that like? Sleepy, what's going on, guys? All right, we're reaching that hour mark. I see a couple other Keep It Comics in the house hanging out here. I said hi to Rudy before. Paul's still with us. Appreciate all you guys hanging out here. So I know, you know, try to keep it an hour long here, so kind of want to close some things out. But any final thoughts? I'll kind of pass it around. Morbius, some final thoughts before we kind of close out.
I guess I'll speak for myself. Like I said, I'm a physical guy. You know, I did digital, and it was only really for just a crutch for not being able to see. You know, and now that I you know, have my glasses, I don't see myself going digital unless, like we said, it depends on the situation. You know, if I'm going on a 3-4 hour flight, you know, and I uploaded some stuff, I'm gonna read it on my phone, you know what I mean, or on the tablet, or, you know, like we said, we're on vacation somewhere and we got some downtime and there's nothing to do, you're just sitting by the pool relaxing. I'm gonna go digital, you know what I mean? But those are the only places where you would find me, you know, lean to digital, because I would say I'm just an all physical guy. I'm all about the physical copy, the nostalgia, everything that comes with the copy, you know. And of course, keeping it free from a slab. You heard, chat. Just keeping it outside of a slab, chat. So you can read your books, chat. And so yeah,
bless you, Morbius, bless you.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so definitely, you know, that's just my take on it. That's where I'm at. So
Cool.
Let's see. How about you, Chris?
You know, I think I said a lot today, so I think that the only thing I would say, honestly, at the end of the day, I don't care what format or medium anybody here chooses. I just want you guys to read stories, to appreciate writers and great artists, and to just devote some of your time and attention to, you know, valuing this stuff that they're creating that is, you know, so good, that's so entertaining. Some of it is so deep and personal. And I just think however you choose to do that, you're all right in my book. Just make sure that you're doing that. You know, be part of that. Like, be in the moment with that and enjoy this stuff. That's it.
Right. Yeah, man.
Yeah, well said. No matter how you are taking in these stories and being able to experience the artwork and all the interior stuff that comes along with, you know, I think that's well said, Chris. On just there's certainly no wrong answer in that case. And for anybody here who's been kind of looking for what the right answer is, I think a lot of it still just comes down to you as an individual and your goals and what you've experienced in the past, how you grew up. I think a lot of that all plays a factor, as we've talked about here today. So I do think that overall it's good to have a little mixture of both, and I think we all can agree on that you know, there's obviously positives to both sides, and I would never tell anybody otherwise. So I think that you know, find the preference that's best for you, and enjoy your books, enjoy your comics. I wanted to highlight, John said Morbius is like my older brother in junior high. He takes his new white sneakers and scuffs them up and runs them on the dirt. That's you're saying how you want some of the newer books being a little beat up. Yeah,
that was me.
Exactly. PJ, the proletarian. Yeah, that was Colossus there when you mentioned proletarian. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, again, everybody that's in the chat right now, appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Rudy saying all points were valid depending on the circumstance. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Definitely, bro.
What's going on, Jay? Thanks for stopping in. Planet Clintar is also hanging out with us. Good to see you. Hey, if you guys are not already following these guys on Instagram, I know Chris puts out some really great content. I love the FOC stuff that you've been putting out, Chris. I hope you continue to do that. Actually, let me let you speak for yourself, because I like to always kind of pass it around. So, Chris, anything you want to share about where people can find you otherwise, or anything new that you might have coming up, or what you're up to?
No, just I post a lot on Instagram, mostly just to share comics and stuff that I'm into. I'm not really looking for much more than that, but I always try. Lately, I've been getting back into putting out FOC posts. That's Final Order Cutoff, which is Sunday for DC books and Monday for everybody else. So if you keep an eye on my page, you can kind of see some of the cool titles or new series that are coming out, and maybe have an opportunity to place those pre-orders online or hit up your shop. And then generally on Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll drop sometimes a post of some of the books that I'm looking most forward to for that coming week. And that's about it. Other than that, though, I just want to thank you guys for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
For sure, man. Definitely.
Heck yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Certainly, we have to have you back on again at some point too.
Yeah.
As we always have these, you know, fun topics that trigger people from time to time. And I know Chris messaged me a while back. He's like, "Dude, I get anxiety from your show sometimes." Some of the topics you talk about.
What? Sometimes lately, when I know it's a topic that gets me heated, I won't watch your show live.
You won't watch your
No, because I don't want to be in the chat writing like essays, and I run out of letters, and then like nobody's
brother.
So I start getting like angry.
When it comes down to them essays,
dude,
paragraphs, son, you go in. You go in your stories, son. I gotta like screenshot it and be like, hold on a second, hold on. I need to. This ain't no 15-second read over here. You gotta pause that shit. It takes like 20 minutes to digest. You're like, hold on, and then there's more. Hold on, there's more. There's more.
I'm not. I've been known to be a long-winded person. So.
Love it though, love it, man. I love
it, man.
Out there, because I agree pretty much with everything that you say, and I love pissing people off just as much as you do. I put up a video. I hit Justin up. I was like, Justin, I just did a video about giveaways. It's not about you. I know you're doing a giveaway because you're doing it the right way. I just get annoyed when people do it the wrong way. You know what I mean? I got my reasons, and I put it up, and Justin, you know, I took it down. I took it down.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, man. I did. After an hour or two, I was like, you know what? Let me take it down, because there are people out there that I do respect, and they're doing giveaways, and I'm not talking about them, and I don't want them to think that I'm referring that to them.
That's why I reached out to you. That was my only concern was.
Yeah,
was
I know.
that.
When you
I know you don't. I know you
like,
don't. You're not trying to hurt anybody in that sense.
No. I just want to hurt the people that I'm talking about. I just want to direct it to those dickheads that is like, bro, you're looking for more followers. That's not the way you do it, bro. Put content up. Buy some fucking books. Stop repeating the same grails every week. You know what I mean? And stop trying to do 50 giveaways just to get followers. Like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, put in some work, bro. You know, put in some work if you want followers, man. But that was the video. Go to my TikTok. You'll love it.
There you go.
Go to my TikTok. You'll love it.
Chet says, Morbius, I got some special slabs last week. I'll show you later. Not sure what it is, but he'll send you some pictures.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
I can tell you that they are very special.
Oh, yeah. More special if I'm able to crack that motherfucker.
No.
I
do that. I promise you that.
Yeah, you're not
and I got something big coming. Guys, me and Paul got some big slabs we're cracking soon.
Oh God!
So keep an eye out for that. Sunday slab smash was coming up soon, so we're gonna be cracking some big ones, bro.
Just want to clarify. I do not support this in any way.
Justin does not support it. He is not.
This channel does not support.
Just comic relief is as far as he goes with me. Outside of comic relief, he has no association. Do not associate Justin.
Morbius who?
Yeah, exactly.
What's his last name? I don't know. No, Morbius. All right, guys. We'll wrap it up here. Again, Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate everybody in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay right now, thank you so much for taking the time. And hey, let us know in the comment section below. Even if you're here right now still, leave a comment. Give us your opinion. If we missed your comment in the chat, I apologize, but throw it up there. We're curious what you guys are doing in terms of how you prefer to read your comics. Always interested to hear from the community. So be sure to check that out. And until then, we'll be on Morbius's channel next week. So make sure you guys are subbed up to him as well. Put the information in the description below. But until next time, we'll